This was the scene in Toronto yesterday where police say 150,000 people took to the streets at a demonstration in support of protesters in Iran. Security forces there have staged fatal and deadly crackdowns on anti-government protests. And today in Ottawa, parliamentarians from across party lines called for a stronger Canadian response.
Leadership shown by Canada previously has been helpful, has been recognized, the sanctions that are on Iran, but there is much more to be done. All of us as Canadians need to stand together, and we're standing for one purpose: for human rights, for freedom, and for the Iranian people to be able to live in a democracy.
Today, we're also learning more about a potential U.S. response with signs of some diplomatic progress. Reuters reports that U.S. and Iranian officials plan to discuss a possible nuclear deal on Friday at a meeting in Turkey. But as the U.S. amasses warships in the region, just last hour, the president did not rule out military intervention.
Well, I can't tell you what I'm going to do because right now, we have a tremendous force going there, just like we did in Venezuela. Even bigger. Right now, we're talking to them. We're talking to Iran, and if we can work something out, that'd be great. And if we can't, probably bad things would happen.
Okay, for more on the path ahead for Iran, we've got Ali Ehsassi. He is an Ontario Liberal MP, and Shuvaloy Majumdar. He's an Alberta Conservative MP. It's good to see you both, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Mr. Majumdar, let's start with you. We have thousands of Iranians have been killed since December. We don't have a precise number, but it is likely much higher than official and unofficial counts. How well would you say Canada's government has responded to these protests and the crackdown from the regime?
Look, since January 8 and 9, when all this really began in earnest, we've barely seen any serious condemnations of the violence of the people there. The foreign minister had a hard time even calling it a murder or a massacre. I just scrolled through the social media of our government officials, and it's actually a bit more than disheartening to know that our government is not acting with the kind of urgency and energy that they could be. That's why we had a press conference today. We've had hearings at the Subcommittee for International Human Rights today, all because we expect more action from the government in solidarity with the people of Iran. That includes sanctioning the supreme leader. It includes standing with the Iranian people and going after IRGC presence in Canada for the safety of Canadians who have been bullied, harassed, and intimidated by these officials. And it includes things like providing technology to the Iranian people to be able to communicate with each other and the world out beyond. Tens of thousands of Iranians have been murdered mercilessly. More have been murdered to be victimized twice. First, in their death because of suppression and repression of the regime, and second, in prepositioning future ideas of death if there was an intervention to take place. This is a regime that's not interested in cooperating with the West, and for the last 10 years, the government has been pursuing some version of normalization with it rather than actual confrontation, insisting on deep-needed reforms. And I think there's an opportunity here to set that right by bringing energy to the file.
So, Ali Ehsassi, I know under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, eventually the IRGC was listed, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was listed as a terrorist entity. It took some doing to get there, though. How would you suggest the current government under Mark Carney has done in responding to the protests and the ensuing crackdown?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, Prime Minister Carney was the first world leader who actually came out and condemned this. Same with our Minister of Foreign Affairs. And what I can tell you is that officials are talking. They recognize full well that the scale of the atrocities here are truly unprecedented. We recognize that we have to do things, and I have no doubt that we will. There will be considerable follow-up. But before getting into what that follow-up should be, I think it's also to point out to Canadians that our country, Canada, is actually leading the way. We are the only country that actually does have rules that prevent any senior official of the Iranian regime from entering our country. I don't know of any other country that has measures of that nature. In addition to that, as you know, yes, the IRGC was listed, but as you know, Australia and the Europeans just belatedly decided to take the next step. So Any suggestion that we haven't taken this issue very seriously is something that I'm going to have to disagree.
Sure, but you just say you need to do more. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
Absolutely,
what can more sanctions, and even what could even sanctioning the leader do?
Sure.
I know I get the symbolism of it, but what is the practical consequence of it?
I think it's very important. I think what Iranians need to hear, they were incredibly brave, they were incredibly courageous. They need to appreciate that the outside world is just as concerned about the developments, and that we are just as strong in condemning the atrocities and the terrible human rights violations that took place. We have to hold the Iranian government to account, and we have to send the brave and courageous people of Iran a signal that we are watching and we care about their fate.
Shuv Majumdar, amongst your calls to actions for Canada are foreign interference investigations and expulsions of people you say are acting as agents of the regime. This is something we've heard from diaspora members, that there are people here and have been able to get here who work on behalf. I mean, what's driving your concerns about Iran's reach inside Canada right now?
You have a former Justice Minister, Liberal Minister Irwin Cotler, who has had to live under close personal protection. My own Deputy Leader, Melissa Landsman's had to live under close personal protection. Iranian activists in this country are worried about who's on the corner of the street if they were to show up at a protest, because family members back in Iran get pictures sent to them about these activities in free and democratic Canada. Transnational repression, the long arm of these authoritarians, particularly the Iranian regime in this country, through terrible actors like the Hells Angels and others, have been intimidating too many Canadians for far too long. CSIS report after CSIS report for year in, year out have tried to describe this as a problem. It took relentless pressure from Iranian family victims of PS 752, from the Iranian civil society in this country, from parliamentarians, including MP Ehsassi along the way, in getting this government to take some early decisions. I just wish it wasn't such a constant pull to get them to proactively take the decisions that they need to not just pass the IRGC as a terror organization, but to equip our law enforcement agencies with the tools they need to chase them down, expel them, and bring them to justice.
Yeah, Irwin Cotler, I've spoken to him about the 24-hour protection. I'm not going to speak about a security arrangement, but it was pretty intense there for a time, that he was at imminent risk of harm. But, Mr. Ehsassi, the U.S. is building up its navy near Iran, aircraft carrier, a number of destroyers. Does Canada need to support the U.S. on a military intervention, dissuade them on a military intervention? Because you've seen the threats coming back from the regime of what might happen should the U.S. escalate this. What are your views on this?
Well, to the extent that I'm privy to what is going on, as you can imagine, we recognize full well that it's important that we work with our friends and allies. Obviously, we have condemned it. We recognize the need to address some of the shortcomings, to fine-tune our approach to certain issues. But most significantly, I think it's important that we act in concert with other countries as well. Because the more we act with other countries, the more powerful those initiatives will be, and the more we can deter the Iranian regime from continuing to do terrible things.
So, Shuv Majumdar, I mean, the U.S. plans to meet with Iranian officials in Istanbul, I think it's on Friday, to talk about a new nuclear deal. This is according to Reuters reports. I mean, is that the path, some sort of diplomatic arrangement with some containment on things, or do Western countries like the U.S. and Canada need to just fully embrace regime change here?
Look, the Iranian people are the ones who are demanding regime change and paying the price with rivers of blood in the streets of Iran, with what little information we can see. And ultimately, the reclamation of Tehran from the occupying regime for the last 47 years, a clerical military dictatorship, is in the hands of the Iranian people. I was in Iraq and Afghanistan between 2006 and 10. I've seen American adventures go badly, and I don't think anybody wants to repeat those lessons. If anything, we should learn from those lessons to see how we can best support Iranians in realizing that ambition. The ways that Canada can contribute is multilateral efforts. I mean, we talk about these institutions all the time, but here's a chance to actually stand up to that. How about we actually, at the United Nations and in concert with other friends and allies and partners, hold them accountable to the truth of what's happening to the Iranian people, hold the regime accountable, and isolate the regime. Second, Canada is in a wonderful position to provide support to any transitional apparatus that would need to happen after the regime collapses upon the weight of its own tyranny. This is a land in which the lion and the sun are rising. This is a land in which the ancient light of an ancient civilization is now being shone across the streets of this country that's been hurting so badly. Canada can facilitate that restoration of an ancient civilization in concert with these Iranians. And third, you know, a decade ago, Canada had, under Prime Minister Harper, launched a global dialogue for the people of Iran, spaces for Iranians to talk to each other, provided support for circumvention software like Siphon and others that come from the University of Toronto. New technologies are now available. Canada can be playing a massive role. Had we been continuing this work in the last decade, Canada can and should be playing a massive role in supporting Iranians to speak to each other, to reclaim their sovereignty, and to build their future democracy.
Ali Ehsassi, how do you look at the possibility of the U.S. taking a heavy hand in there? Because, you know, to Mr. Majumdar's point, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, you know, when they go in, and sometimes there is a power vacuum and chaos and further loss. How should they approach it?
From what I have been hearing from within Iran, I think after having seen the bloodshed that occurred in that country, I think a lot of Iranians would very much be in favor of perhaps a targeted approach, because they recognize that this ogre of a regime has a lot of power, and they would like to see targeted operations. Beyond that, I think it's a bit too early to determine, but I think it's important for your viewers and for all governments to consider that by all estimates, 80% of people who live within Iran are dead set against this regime.
Sure.
This is a population that recognizes full well that a theocracy cannot run a country. I would say most people incline heavily towards secularism and democracy. So let's do everything we can to invigorate that process and make sure that Iranians can live with.
Well, just on this as a final point, you heard what Mr. Majumdar said. He talked about communications technology and helping communicate and getting the story out. I mean, what is the next immediate step you'd like to see your government do? I mean, I know you're not in cabinet, I know you're not the Prime Minister, so I'm not putting all the accountability on you, but what would you like to see from
I can honestly say I have seen our officials speaking to each other about this. I've also seen our officials reaching out and talking to our European allies as well. So there's no doubt in my mind that we will continue to focus on this issue. However, as you rightly pointed out, and as Mr. Majumdar did as well, absolutely, let's use technology. We don't want that country to descend into a cloak of darkness again. Right. So if we can use technology in this particular instance, as was pointed out, this is technology that was developed at the Citizens Lab. So let's really roll up our sleeves and really do everything we possibly can.
I've got 20 seconds, real quick, last word.
We should end the lie of the regime. For 20 years, they put two lies before the world. One is the lie of the separation between nuclear terrorism and repression. They are all linked to the same regime, and we should not be having these conversations in isolation. It's been a game that they've been using against us. And second, we should put an end to the lie that the regime has reformers and people who are ready to make them work better. They've proven time and again that's not the case, and the Iranian people have paid the price.
And let me just say that Iranian people are fully aware of this. I have not heard a single person that say that they have any faith in people who were previously referred to as reformists. Iranians are united in wanting to see this regime collapse.
Gentlemen, it's good to have you both here speaking about this. Shuv Majumdar and Ali Ehsassi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.